In what I believe to be one of the first court or tribunal decisions about mask wearing at work, the East London Employment Tribunal has determined that a lorry driver who was sacked because he refused to wear a face mask while in his cab, even though at the time that was not a legal requirement, cannot claim for unfair dismissal. So Mr. Kubilius was a Polish articulated lorry driver for Kent Foods Limited and TC Facilities Management Limited. He'd worked there since July 2016 until he was sacked on the 25th of June 2020. That company's major customer was Tate Lyle, the sugar maker, and approximately 90% of the company's work was to and from T&L's Thames Refinery site. On the 21st of May, the claimant was driving a van, lorry, to the refinery site and, quote, the driver was asked to put on his mask. Every driver receives a mask when he enters the site with instructions to wear the mask. He refused, saying he was in his cab and he didn't have to. That's a quote from an email that was sent by Tate Lyle. Obviously, at some point prior to the 21st of May, Tate Lyle made a decision to ensure anyone visiting the site wore a mask. So Tate Lyle reported the driver to the company and effectively wanted him added to a banned list, saying he was banned from the site. The claimant said in response, quote, I did nothing wrong, I just stay in my cab and staff from Tate's came to me and start required to keep my mask on my face, but I don't must seat in my cab with mask, my cab is my home. When I leave in my cab, I wear mask and first, it's not the law. That's a quote. So after an investigation and disciplinary process, the employee was dismissed. The claimant claimed it was unfair dismissal and said that a third party, Tate Lyle, had put pressure on the company. He said that Tate Lyle never told him to wear a mask and that the government guidance at the time said that wearing a mask at work was optional, which is true. He also said that inside his cab was his own environment, his home, and that he hadn't refused to wear a mask outside whenever he was outside the cab. The tribunal, however, reached a conclusion that the decision to dismiss was fair, that it was within the band of reasonableness, and because it was not feasible for the claimant to carry out work given the site banned by Tate Lyle, the decision to dismiss was fair. So there's some lessons to learn from this. The decision was not surprising, to be honest. The question of whether dismissal is fair or not is now well-established law, and the question is whether the decision to dismiss falls within the band of reasonableness. The decision to dismiss here was based upon conduct, but they could also take into account the third-party ban from the site. So this isn't a case which answers the question, can my employer force me to wear a mask, or whether mask wearing was a legal requirement or not. And indeed, at the time, it was only guidance and it wasn't a legal requirement as it is now. However, tribunals are unlikely to decide a case like this where the decision would have the effect of invalidating or questioning government legislation, certainly at a lower tribunal level. Of course, mask wearing in certain places is now legislated for and thus is a legal requirement. And that would make any dismissal for failing to follow the law, as well as company policy as in this case, even more likely to be held as being fair. Inevitably, in due course, we will have claims from claimants seeking to challenge the requirement to wear a mask on the grounds of equality, disability, belief, those kind of things. But in the meantime, the lessons to learn are as follows. Number one, employers can require employees to wear masks at work. Number two, employers can fairly dismiss employees for failing to wear a mask if required. 3, employers should always follow a fair process. And 4, employers should be aware of potential claims for discrimination. Do check out my other videos on the no jab, no job policy, where I discuss whether a company can force an employee to have a vaccine, and also my video on the law surrounding the wearing of masks in England. But for now, thanks for watching. My name's Stephen Mather. You can see me at www.stephenmather.co.uk. Goodbye.